Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name's Lisa Levinson, and I am the campaigns director for In Defense of Animals and also the founder of Vegan Spirituality. And here we are today to explore veganism as a spiritual practice. This is our Vegan Spirituality online gathering. And I'm here we've got a special guest interview today. And also, I'm here with a colleague of mine from In Defense of Animals. Hi, Mary Easonsea.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Yes, and Mary is here to chat with all of you. And we also have Judy Carmen, our co-host today, and she is the author of Homo, Ahimsa, and Peace to All Beings.
Hi,
Hey, Judy.
everybody. So thanks so much for coming. So glad you're here.
Yes, and so today Judy's going to introduce our special guest to you.
Yes, I am so excited. We all are because we have someone that's very distinguished and very famous, and that is Anne Dinshah. Anne is the co-author of Powerful Vegan Messages, which brings to contemporary audiences the ethical teachings of her father, Jay Dinshah, and he founded American Vegan Society. She is a lifelong vegan, one of those rare beings, and that's so exciting to see someone like that and hear from you. She has spent decades as a professional rowing coach and now serves as CEO of the American Vegan Society, where she applies principles of teamwork, balance, and compassion to her work. Since 1960, this organization has run programs that welcome people to veganism and build a national vegan community, which they have done an amazing job of that. Now, some of their specific projects include publishing the American Vegan Magazine. They also have Dynamic Harmless Day, which is celebrated annually on November 2nd, which is the birthday of her dad, the late Jay Dinshah. He was once their lone speaker, but now the American Vegan Speakers Bureau has over 80 popular vegan speakers from throughout the United States. They also have YouTube channels, which are they're called Powerful Vegan Messages, and another one is American Vegan Society. So you can look up their YouTube channels and find many YouTubes there. They hold cooking classes, gourmet vegan dinners by culinary students, and many other events and celebrations. And now they run a welcoming cultural hub, which I hope someday I can visit, which is in Philadelphia, and it's called the American Vegan Center. And that is just a huge accomplishment that exists. Um, a fuller description of all their work is found on the website americanvegan.org. So you all can go there and learn even more about the American Vegan Society. But let's get to hearing from you, Anne. I usually ask our guests how they became vegan, but in your case, you were born into a famous vegan family. So tell us about how your family started the American Vegan Society.
Well, it started in 1957. My dad, Jay Dinshah, visited a slaughterhouse because back then you could just walk right up and say, "Hey, I want to check out where my food comes from." And when he emerged from the slaughterhouse, he went vegan on the spot. And so he vowed to work every day till all the slaughterhouses are closed. And he decided the most effective way to do that would be to do a lot of speaking. So he went all around the country speaking. He was teaching people what the word vegan is, how to pronounce it. And then he decided to start American Vegan Society in 1960. And so he was very much the spiritual one, the philosopher. He was into promoting the ethics, but my mom thought people needed to eat. So, so Freya Dinshah created the first vegan cookbook in this country. It's called The Vegan Kitchen in 1965. And then I came along in 1969, so they were well on their way to doing veganism full time. So I like to say I was like their third child, with American Vegan Society being their first.
Wow, what a story. So they were he went to that slaughterhouse like so I think if I did the math right, 12 years before you were born and
Mhm.
was already thinking about all of this. And what an amazing thing because there's so many other people who have been there to slaughterhouses and unaffected by it. But he knew right away, and what a blessing to all of us. I mean, that was a long time ago, before a lot of the videos came out. So
Mhm.
how exciting! So, and your mom, Freya Dinshah, she's the one that did the cookbook you were saying. And what year was that?
That was 1965, the first vegan cookbook in
65.
this country.
Yeah, which I never saw it until much later, if only because I didn't know what to do.
Well, it's
So
come out in 13 editions. So there are a lot of, especially people who've been vegan for a while, you'll go to their kitchen, you'll see it on their shelves.
yeah, yeah, amazing. But what was it like growing up in a family like this? That I mean, my goodness, he's one of the earliest vegans in America and uh, teaching these values. And you even live on Dinshah Drive. So, what was it like?
Yes, well, it depends on which aspect of life you're talking about. So, when I was interacting with people who aren't vegan, like going to school, I didn't tell people that I was vegan because back then it was considered really risky for your health. And so my dad knew about the animals, and that was what drove him. And even if it wasn't the best thing for his health, he was going to help the animals. And it's only been more recently that the health and environmental aspects have come into being a big part of why people go vegan. So, although I didn't tell in those circles, when I was having the opportunities to join my dad on his lecture tours, then of course everybody knew we were vegan. And that was really a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I would sell his books in the back of the room for him. But really, what stands out is the quality time that we spent together driving to all these places. And a lot of times we would just have fun, the travel games that you play. But along with that, he also gave me a stack of index cards and a pen. And he would plan out his speech. And so I was his little speech writer. And he would take those index cards, he'd put them in his pocket, and he often didn't even take them out during the speech. It was just organizing his thoughts. And so that's kind of been how I've treated the wisdom he's shared with me, is I've sort of kept it in my pocket, and now it's time to share those index cards with everybody else.
Yeah, wonderful. So, I know you must miss him terribly. It sounds like you had a wonderful childhood growing up with him.
I did, but I will say, that was back in the days of doing a lot of folding paper and stuffing envelopes. And so
Right.
when I got the chance to run off to college and be a rebel, I was tired of the getting paper cuts. Um, I did go and pursue other things, and I got a degree in American Studies, and I became a rowing coach. And, now having a degree in American Studies is actually a great thing to lead American Vegan Society. But that wasn't why I originally was doing it. It was just to try something different.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So you were a rebel
Well,
from
actually, I
such
wanted
a,
to do civil engineering, but lucky for
yeah.
everybody else, I'm not that good at math and science. So the bridges that I wound up building are building bridges of compassion instead of bridges of steel.
Yeah. Which is a blessing for all of us and for the animals for sure.
Hmm.
So your parents were dedicated to ahimsa. Uh,
Hmm.
Tell us more about what that actually means. I think a lot of people listening in know what it means, but tell us more about what it meant to your folks.
Hmm. So the interesting thing about ahimsa is it just basically means non-harming. And so you could take that any way that you want to. You could go live in a cave, do nothing, and be non-harming. And that's not really what ahimsa is. So my dad tried to make it more positive, find the action. He called it dynamic harmlessness. The problem is that dynamic harmlessness is quite a mouthful to say. So ahimsa is actually easier to say. um, and dynamic harmlessness was to do the most good and the least harm at the same time. So not just the not harming part. But to find another way to really bring out the best in ahimsa, he created the pillars of ahimsa. So each letter in the word ahimsa, he had stand for something good. So the A is animals. So the animals need us to speak up for them, make wise decisions. H is harmlessness. It's harmlessness with reverence for life. So acknowledging that once in a while you may have to do a little bit of harm, but really weighing your actions to do the most good. I is integrity for your thought, word, and deed, aligning them. Mastery, that's the one that people don't always understand. Why would he say mastery? But it's mastery over oneself. So the materialism, the envy, the greed, the selfishness, all those things, really identifying what your needs are versus your wants. The S is service, service to humanity. So finding joy in doing something that benefits people and planet. And the last one is advancement. So that's the advancing understanding of truth and creating ways to share the lessons that one learns in this compassionate way of life.
Yeah, that's so beautiful the way he created that. Um, I guess you call it an acronym.
Mm-hmm.
A,
Yeah, he called it the pillars of ahimsa.
Pillars of Ahimsa.
Pillars of ahimsa, yes.
And it's right in line with what vegan spirituality is all about,
Mm-hmm.
because we're more than just talking about the awful things that happen to animals and encouraging people to not harm them, but we're also about the spiritual aspect of that, which your dad obviously was, and
Mm-hmm.
was explaining, because ahimsa itself came out of the Jain religion, I believe. And isn't that right?
Well, it's an old
Jain?
Sanskrit word. I think it's
Mhm.
used in various places.
Yeah, yeah. But it comes out of that heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a beautiful word. Actually wrote a book myself about ahimsa because I love it so much. Um, so tell us, you've already told us a little bit. What are some of your other memories as a child and how you came to understand the word ahimsa? Because as a little kid, ahimsa might be difficult to understand.
Mm-hmm. Well, so it's interesting that you asked that question because I was like, wait a second, I've answered that before, but it's been a while since I've been asked that question. So, I've got this book, Powerful Vegan Messages, where if someone wants to read a lot more about the pillars of ahimsa, my dad really goes into depth about those. But there's a chapter in here where I really examined my own understandings of a lot of different things. And so I picked different ages. And so for the word ahimsa, when I was 5 years old, I knew that was the name of Dad's magazine because it was called Ahimsa. And that was pretty much all I needed to know at that time. By the time I was 10, I knew not only was it the name of the magazine of American Vegan Society, but I also thought maybe it was some strange word that Dad brought back from India because he had been on many speaking trips. By the time I was 20, I figure by then I knew it was nonviolence in the way that Gandhi promoted it. By the time I was 30, Dad talked about it as pillars. And so that was right when my dad passed away. So, I mean, who really wants to read your dad's writings? But when he passed away, that's when I read his writings. So that's when I really understood that he talked about the pillars. Each letter stands for something important. And then when I was 40, I was writing this book with him posthumously. And so Then I really understood the whole non-harming versus the dynamic harmlessness, really drawing out the positive action side and understanding why he promoted the pillars of ahimsa, just really to encourage people to do all the good they can in the world.
So it was quite a journey.
It
And
was,
yeah, for so
yeah.
many of us, where our journey was from being non-vegan and parents not, having any concept of that and rebelling. We rebelled by going vegan
Hmm.
later on, but your journey was very different.
Yes. Well, my dad realized that he couldn't just sit me down on Sunday mornings and force me to learn his teachings. That wasn't going to work. He tried it a couple times. But what really did work was when he told me fun stories at the dining table. And so, one of the stories that I like to share with people is the story of the Carpathia, which most people have never heard of the Carpathia. But the Carpathia was the boat, well, a ship, large ship, that when the Titanic was sinking, the captain of the Carpathia shut off all the hot water to his passengers so he could go for 4 hours full steam ahead to save 705 passengers of the Titanic. And so, they had some cold showers, but they saved 705 people. And so my dad would say, yeah, think about the Carpathia. Our world is sinking. Are you saving the world or are you just rearranging the deck chairs? And so stories like that really hit home for me because he made them fun and memorable.
Wow, that is, I did not know that about the Carpathia. That is amazing and very symbolic to what we're going through right now for people and the animals. Well, so okay, so tell us more about your book, The Powerful Vegan Messages. How did you put it together? Did you feel your dad's presence helping you?
I did in a way. Yes, it was 14 years after he passed away. And I should say my dad passed away because he internalized the suffering of billions of animals. And so it took me a long time to really process it, and it came in stages. And so my dad had a lot of influence of younger luminaries, people who came along and learned from him. But I didn't know their stories until after he died. And then those luminaries came and talked to me, and they each had something amazing to share. So people like Victoria Moran would come up to me and share her story. And I'm not going to tell you everybody's stories because you can read the book, but the one that was the real catalyst was Howard Lyman. And for the amazing Howard Lyman to tell me that before he had to speak to his first vegan audience, he was actually backstage a little bit nervous. And so was Jay Dinshah backstage. And so they were having a conversation. And Jay said, just go tell your story. And if you've ever heard Howard speak, that's what Howard always does, is he tells his story. But the way that he conveyed that to me, I was like, oh, somebody's going to write down these stories and make a book about Jay Dinshah. And I really didn't think it was going to be me, but it became obvious that I was the person that had to do it. So I took my dad's old writings from a variety of sources, including his book Out of the Jungle. And I interspersed these stories from all these vegan luminaries about my dad and how they had been helped by him. And then we tried to bring up some of his messages current for today. But really, most of his messages about compassion are just as relevant now as they were when he wrote them in the 60s. So just putting a different cover on the book, as it were, and putting a little commentary and helping inspire people to do more. And that's how it came together.
That's so such a gift to the vegan world and to the world in general. So thank you for doing that, Anne, because I know it's not easy to write. It can be very tedious, but it sounds like a fascinating book. And
Well, thank you.
I'm definitely going to have to get it. And so is it on Amazon? Can people order it
It's best to order
online?
it from AmericanVegan.org.
Okay.
Just order it
Okay.
directly and just be a little more patient than Amazon.
Okay. It's not going to come the next day.
It doesn't come the next day, but it's the most direct route.
So you think this book will help us as we spread the vegan message? Um, will it be something we can refer to? Um, how can we use it?
Yeah, well, so I'll show you the book this way around. See, it's pretty thick,
Yeah.
but it's not scary because I haven't counted how many chapters, but like lots and lots of chapters. So they're all really short chapters. So you get to read something from Jay, something from me, something from a vegan luminary that's neither of us. And they all kind of tie together. So you can pick it up and you can just read one chapter. And so it's a good bedside table because then you can reflect on what somebody had to say and just take your time with it and enjoy it.
Well, and learning a lot of history,
Hmm.
which would be wonderful for all of us, I think. And you have now have this museum. Basically, it's a museum, would you call it, in Philadelphia?
Oh,
Or
well, we have a little bit of a museum there, but it's mostly a cultural hub. So it's a place
okay.
where we do cooking demos and lectures, and we
Oh,
have
I
open
see.
mic nights, and we have veg history walking tours, and we've got food from local entrepreneurs. We've got merchandise. We try to be a little bit of everything vegan to greet people wherever they are on their journey. The vegans love it because they feel like they have a place that's theirs to hang out. But then the people who are not vegan love it because they'll just come in and go, "Oh yeah, I've got a niece who's vegan," and they don't know anything about vegan. So they have a
Yeah.
way to learn just a little bit about vegan to try and understand their friends and relatives and to buy gifts for them. And a lot of times they will come and they'll hang out and they'll go to cooking demos and you know just come back and have more conversations.
Well, and a vegan history tour.
Hmm.
There's a lot of history back there. Like I live in Kansas. There's not a whole lot of history of veganism here.
Well, most
So
people don't know.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most people don't know the history. They only know back as far as the day they went vegan and nothing before that. So our director, Vance Lemkill, does a great job of teaching the vegetarian history and even the people before that, a lot of the pre-vegetarian, but like vegetarian leaning people, part of the abolitionist movement. Um, and then the vegetarian movement got started in Philadelphia. And then, of course, I mentioned the vegan movement got started in Philadelphia. So to have both vegetarian and vegan um, started in Philadelphia. And I see somebody's asking, does veg mean vegan or vegetarian? It means both. So it's the history of the vegetarian movement and the history of the vegan movement. He puts them together as a veg history tour because his history begins way before the word vegan was coined, but there were a lot of vegans back then.
Yeah, that would just, and I see somebody saying I would love to visit Philly just to do the vegan history tour. I'm feeling the same way. It sounds incredible. I know there's so much history and it goes back, thousands of years really.
Mhm.
Pythagoras and Jesus and Buddha and a
Absolutely.
lot
Yes.
of
Philly's only
luminaries.
taking yeah, Philly's only taking credit for the modern uh,
Yeah,
movements. But
right,
yes,
right.
it absolutely went back thousands of years.
Yeah, right. Now I think I've already said your website.
Hmm.
It's American, where I'm looking at the notes. American
Um,
Vegan
AmericanVegan.org is our website.
dot org.
Yeah.
Okay. So and I mentioned the YouTubes and social media. There's a lot on social media,
Hmm.
and there's a way to sign up to get the magazine.
Yeah, on our website, AmericanVegan.org, you can sign up to be a member, and then we send you the magazine. But more importantly, we use your membership funds to help your friends, neighbors, people that don't even know that they want to go vegan yet and provide information kind of free, but it's not really free because somebody's got to produce the information. So you're really paying it forward when you become a member.
That's great. So there's another question. There's really a strong spiritual calling in the ahimsa life. And so how did your parents convey that to you, the spiritual aspect of it? And how does it inform your life today and also your son, the life of your son? Because I know his name's Clint, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've
Yes.
seen his picture, but it's on a cookbook from a while back. So I know he's probably grown quite a bit since then. So, but how does the spiritual aspect of it inform your life and his life?
Well, the spiritual aspect is it's more about just being solid with your values in everything that you do. So, aligning what you do for work if you can, if you're fortunate enough to do it for work. But if not, then the time that you spend outside of work, making the things that you do outside of work be really meaningful. It's also in weighing your actions because we live in an imperfect world. So, acknowledging that we're just going to do the best that we can every day with all the information that we have. It's also about enjoying your location. Um, I've lived all over the country. Being a rowing coach, I had the opportunity to do like a giant star shape going all different places around the United States. And people love to ask me, where did you like the most? And I like the most where I am in the present moment. And I don't mean just today, but I mean at every stage of life. Just really growing where you're planted, enjoying the people that are around you. I think that the best gift that anyone can ever give is a gift of your time. So doing that wherever you are.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Anne, for that. So, last question before we open up for question and answers. Um, in our community, the vegan spirituality community, we are aware of what's happening to animals. We're bearing witness to them, and it's, as you mentioned with your dad, it wears on you. It's difficult, and so we need to learn ways to find inner peace in order to care for ourselves and continue on to help the animals rather than giving up. So, what are some of your tips for finding inner peace as you carry forward with your amazing life? Because you're still at it.
Well, thank you. So, for me, it's finding something that I'm passionate about that I can do with good intensity, but that has absolutely nothing to do with helping the animals. So there has to be part of each week, whether it's a couple mornings a week, that I do something for me. And so when the weather's warm, I'll go rowing and I'll just go out there and I'll row 15 miles, which takes me all morning. And I just carve out the time where I'm not in a rush and I get a good workout, but I also can be processing my thoughts. And if I want to stop and look at the birds and the turtles, that's okay. I have part of the workout that I do intensely with my friends, and then I have part of the workout that I do more for me. Um, and so it doesn't have to be rowing. It could be, swimming or hiking or one of those things that you often can clear your head, but you can also process your thoughts at the same time if there's something that's you've been thinking about and you can't quite come up with the right answer. So I think that's one aspect. But for me, just as important is I found something where I can't think about work. I can't think about the animals. Um, I was visiting Lisa, and so she knows what I'm about to say. I found springboard diving. Not just because I'm athletic doesn't mean that I'm encouraging everybody to go springboard diving. But what I mean by that is I have to clear my head completely of everything and just focus at the task at hand. And so, that to me is exhilarating. Um, I like springboard diving, but I can also find that same kind of thing when I'm chainsawing a log, where you've got to really focus at the task at hand. And not think about all those things that I think about every day in my work life, which is helping the animals. So finding ways to recharge, doing something completely different.
That is phenomenal advice. And I think that a lot of us are not doing that. And we definitely need to, because burnout is a real thing. And
Mhm.
so that I can just see you diving and rowing, and it just looks wonderful. And it just makes so much sense.
Mhm.
And just getting outdoors sometimes
Mhm.
is enough, even if you don't have a boat or something. So yeah, thank you so much for that. Lisa, you want to open up for Q&A? It looks like we got some questions for sure.
Yes, thank you so much. We also have Mary here who has been tuning in and may be able to pick a couple of them. But there are some here. So I want to thank you, first of all, Anne, for sharing your vegan story with us and also for visiting with me personally. We were able to go on a hike together and really spend some quality time, which is so lovely. So one of the questions here uh, might have been slightly addressed. Let's see. There was one question, kind of an interesting one, since you talked about being a rebel. Have you ever gone away from being a vegan for a period of time?
I think that's an excellent question. And the quick answer is no. However, I need to qualify that with I grew up when vegan desserts tasted like cardboard. So, for example, if I was at college and my friends were having this amazing tiramisu and they said this was the best tiramisu they ever had, no, I wouldn't buy my own piece of it, but I wouldn't mind having like one bite because it's about the greater good. So, as a recipe author, then I was able to turn around and make a delicious tiramisu, and then I could feed that to my friends. And so I knew I had something really good. So it's not about me being the absolute purist, it's about doing the most good. And so as long as there's a point to why I've strayed from 100% vegan, which I don't think is really possible, um, then that's what I do.
Well, I'm sure your tiramisu is absolutely delicious as a result. So this is good. And there was a big evolution, I would say 10, 15 years ago, about shifting the food from functional to delicious and tasty. And now there's just so much of it. And so I think that's you're part of that evolution. So thank you for doing that. We also have, let's see, ahimsa. Oh, there's a question about it being, should it be capitalized? Is it what language? But it's a Sanskrit, isn't that
Mhm.
correct? Sanskrit,
Yeah.
so it's an
We don't
ancient.
capitalize it. I mean, we don't own the word, but we don't capitalize it unless we're talking about the name of the magazine, what we called the magazine from 1960 to 2000. In 2000, we switched to being called American Vegan because everybody knows what American means, and a lot more people knew what vegan was, and ahimsa was still kind of a strange word. So I don't think ahimsa needs to be capitalized. Most people don't realize that vegan was intentionally not capitalized so that it got into the dictionary quicker. They're not really religions, so you don't have to capitalize them. We only capitalize them when we're talking about the pillars of ahimsa, and then we capitalize all the letters just to draw attention to them. So I think you have to use capitalization with purpose.
Thank you for that. I didn't realize there would be such a clear answer to that question.
We put a lot of thought into this through the years because we want to be consistent with what our messaging is.
Well, there's another question here. So, did your parents face criticism raising you as a vegan baby child? Um, and how do they navigate that and pays from New York City?
Okay, well, absolutely. When people found out that my parents were raising vegan children, they got a lot of opinions. One that my mom likes to share is that people used to say, oh, vegan, your children are going to be born without teeth. And she's like, well, aren't all children born without teeth? So, it was just kind of silly what people would come up with to say to her. But really, yeah, I was always very healthy. As a child, I never missed a day of school for being sick. I've always been an athlete, so I've got plenty of energy. And so it's always been more about people going, wow, you are so athletic, you're energetic, you're always so positive. What's your secret? And then I go, oh yeah, I'm vegan, instead of like, I don't go around wearing t-shirts that say vegan unless I'm around my vegan friends or something. But generally I just let people get to know me for me first.
That's a good strategy because then they already love you.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm really
And
just the girl next door. That's really who I am. I'm not some crazy vegan chick.
well, you actually are a prominent vegan author, and you do speak, and you have run an organization. So there's a lot to that. And speaking of that, one of the questions you chatted a little bit with Judy about this, but I was wondering if you wanted to say any more about it, about how to avoid burnout as an activist.
Okay. So obviously I witnessed my dad with the ultimate burnout. And so, I try to learn from that. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that I can give to the movement is to try and have balance in my life. I'm not saying that I'm always there. Like I may have lots of strategies and then I'll sit in front of the computer for 24 hours straight to work on something and not even notice. We all have days that we do that. Um, but really to take time to take care of ourselves because if we're not healthy or if we're not on this planet, then how are we really helping the animals that way?
Mm. Thank you for that encouragement for all of us to take care of ourselves. And sometimes that involves the basic needs like sleeping, eating properly, and um, getting some time outside and time with friends and family.
Hmm.
I think those things are important. We're really investing in our advocacy when we take time to do all of those things. So,
Yeah, put a little humor and fun into your life because the suffering of animals can get you down. But you got to find ways to lighten it up and have humor and fun.
yeah. Um, Gee, let's see if there's any others. Mary, are you seeing any others that I?
One more.
One more, please.
Says, what do you think about fake meats?
I think there's a place for fake meats. There's a lot of people that really love the taste of meat, but they want to be compassionate and stop eating the animals, but they miss it. They miss the textures. Honestly, it's the flavors are usually from plants anyway, the sauces and stuff. So if you can switch out what the meat is and use tofu or seitan or one of the alternative meats that's currently on the market. I think we ultimately want to be eating more healthfully, but I have no problem with people eating transition alternative meats, as long as it's getting them away from eating the animals.
Thank you for that, giving some of us more confidence in our uh, ability to share some of these foods with people who aren't as familiar with veganism, and that they might be a little fearful or concerned that they couldn't have some of the tastes or the textures that they're used to. So
Yeah, it's not a lifestyle of denial and starvation or anything like that. It's really a lifestyle of abundance. And so I like to tell people to go down the produce aisle and pick out a new vegetable that they haven't had before. But if that vegetable just sits and rots in their fridge, it's not going to do any good. So it's better to have some vegan friends, try some new things, go to potlucks, try a new vegan restaurant, just learn how to add vegan things to your life while you're simultaneously taking those animal products out of your life. There are very few people who go vegan overnight and are really healthy about it.
Well, speaking of that, I know that you have written a book called Dating Vegans, and I thought it might be interesting to share a bit about that book, that project, and how it came to be.
So that book was really a dare. Somebody has said, how about you spend a year dating just non-vegan men and write about it? And so it's stories of how to get along. One person's vegan and one person's not. But more importantly, there's a lot of vegan recipes, especially main dishes and desserts, that people who are not vegan vouch for them being actually really delicious and easy to make. So if you have a good main dish and you have a good dessert, even if you only know how to make a couple of items, you can really impress a lot of people. And so that was a fun journey to go on for a year.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's a great and very helpful book for people because a lot of people might, either already be in love with someone who happens not to be vegan, or maybe they're on the path and they find someone who they connect with on a soul level, and that piece isn't there yet. So
Mhm.
having that book is really, really helpful. And the recipes is such a great way to bring people together. They can cook these recipes together or assemble them depending on if they're cooked or raw. And
Yeah,
somebody
it
here
really,
was, go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, it really comes down to respect, to have respect for the other person and to remember who you were before you became vegan, if you are the vegan. Give that other person a chance to learn and to taste delicious things and to be patient with them. And if you're the person who suddenly finds yourself stuck in a relationship with someone who went vegan and you're like, oh, this isn't the person that I thought they were, just to try and understand where they're coming from and to appreciate all the other good things about them instead of having it be something that's going to drive a wedge between people.
Yeah, that is a lovely strategy. I know I was had a partner for many years who was not vegan, but definitely ate vegan food with me, and so that meant that many of the meals, since I made all of them, were vegan. And I thought it was interesting to hear him talking about veganism with other people. So I might eavesdrop a little bit and hear that, and he would say, "Oh, wasn't not as bad as you would imagine," or he would say, "Actually, this is really good," or "This is tasty. You should try this." And I found actually he was doing more vegan advocacy than I was with non-vegans, and so that was good to hear. Also, his doctor was very pleased about this. Yeah. So there can be some benefits from this that we don't know in the beginning. We wouldn't be able to kind of predict. And speaking of this, another I know with the vegan, dating, vegan partners, and then what comes next, sometimes vegan children. So I wanted to find out if you could share a little bit about, I know your son is vegan, and I just thought it might be nice to hear. Judy and I both recollected that book that has Clinton on the cover and uh, some recipes for kids. So just thought you might share a little bit about that too.
Yeah, actually, everybody thinks Clint is on the cover, but he was only one at the time, so it's his cousin on the cover. But that's fine. Uh, so we wrote a book. My mom and I wrote a kids' cookbook. It's called Apples, Bean Dip, and Carrot Cake. Kids Teach Yourself to Cook. We actually have a YouTube channel by that name as well. Kids Teach Yourself to Cook. We haven't had time to put a lot on that channel because it takes a lot to make videos. But we put together this system where kids can literally read the book, look at the pictures, and it starts with how to wash your vegetables and how to chop safely with a knife, and then how to use the stove. More importantly, how to turn off the stove and just clean up after yourself. And then it moves on to real adult recipes like how to make lasagna and carrot cake and how to use the blender. So we've had a lot of adults secretly buy that book and teach themselves how to cook. That's a lot of fun. And so you asked specifically about Clint. Yes, he writes a column in American Vegan magazine called Do Fun Things, and that comes from when he was 3. And he said animals don't want us to eat them; they want to do fun things. If we eat them, they'll be dead, and then they can't do fun things. So, I consider Clint a vegan luminary because that's one of the most quoted parts of the book.
Oh, that's adorable. Thank you for sharing that really sweet story. And there is a question here too. What do you see the shift in conversation with people now compared with a decade ago when talking about veganism? And, just curious if there was any difference.
Oh, there's a
Um,
huge shift. Yeah. Um, a decade or even 2 decades ago, if people asked me what I do, I either told them that I'm a rowing coach, or if they asked what else I do, I would say, yeah, I do a little bit of writing as well. And I do healthy recipes and compassionate lifestyle. And, I would have all these other ways of saying vegan without actually saying vegan. And then there was a shift where I'd be saying that, and then they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, well, I like that, but have you ever heard of this thing called vegan?" And so all of a sudden, a lot more people were using the word, and it was much more comfortable. So now I'm usually okay saying vegan in public circles where people don't know that I'm the vegan in the room. But like if it's a potluck, I'll often just bring something that's absolutely delicious and put it on my plate and circulate it around the room and go, "Oh, this is really good. Did you get some of this?" Maybe it's like a sweet potato quesadilla or something like that, or some oatmeal raisin cookies, and I'll talk to people and then they'll be impressed with the vegan food. And so it's much easier to tell people that I'm vegan now than it ever used to be before. And so many more people are aware of it. Even if they're not vegan, they know someone who is. And a lot of people aspire to be more vegan. So you get so many more people going, "Oh, yeah, I really eat like 80% vegan now." And they're proud of it. And that's great. It's a place to connect.
I've noticed the same thing, definitely. There's instead of that critical glance or response, it seems to be almost more curiosity or even respect.
Hmm.
So, people will say, I really admire you for that. And you're going, what?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's really quite wonderful.
Well, I think we're lucky to be in this time where we don't have cardboard tasting desserts, and we have a plethora of vegan options everywhere. And I think a lot of that is because of the work that you and your family have done, Anne, to create to create that kind of innovation, and to the reason that we all accept that word vegan in our daily life is because of a lot of the um, advocacy that you've done for so many years in your family, just in so many places. Really, really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And I really appreciate the giant steps that people have taken to become vegan since I didn't do that journey myself. I think it takes a lot of courage to do something different from what your ancestors taught you to do. And we just need to keep encouraging people to question their values and their beliefs, but do it in really positive ways in everything that we do.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think it's so important for people to find other vegans. If they feel like they're the only one, they don't feel supported, and it's really hard. So, yeah, we really need to help them get connected.
That's a big part of what American Vegan Society's always done. So, whether
Right.
it's through membership or through finding a vegan information point, local people in your area, um, we know that a lot of us, myself included, I'm in a cabin in Western New York here, and there aren't a lot of vegans around me.
Mm.
We all need to find a place to connect. But for me, I can also go to the greater Philadelphia area and be with my family and be at American Vegan Center and get recharged with the vegan there.
Well, and I'm thinking of the speakers. Are they pretty much around the country? So you could, like, if you wanted a speaker to come,
Mhm.
you might be able to find one fairly local.
We do have speakers from all around the country. We vouch that they can all give you a great basic vegan talk, but then they also have their own subject areas. Like I do fitness, recipes, basic ethics, things like that. But somebody else might be a dietitian, and so they're more qualified to speak on nutrition. Somebody else might have all the science behind the environment to talk about. So there are a lot of different speakers. And yeah, you can probably find one in your area if you're doing a gathering and need someone to speak.
Well, that is good news for all of us. It's great to be able to have a resource and to know that these speakers have been kind of pre-approved by the American Vegan Society as ones that will bring the vegan message. So really, really appreciate that. That's great. Yeah. Well, maybe we can do looking to see how things are going in our chat. It sounds like people are chatting about various things, and um, I'm wondering we might be moving towards our closing and to see if maybe, Judy has anything to share, or if you, Anne, would like to share a little quote. I do want to mention that part of building a vegan community is being here right now. This is our vegan spirituality online gathering. That's why we do this, so we can reach people all around the world, no matter where you are, no matter what cabin in what woods or what big city or different country. It's just a nice way to connect. And we also have vegan spirituality groups that are in person. And we have those in Los Angeles and New York and Philadelphia. And if anyone here wants to start one, it's a really great way to connect others in your community. And so you're welcome to reach out to us. Um, and you can do that. I think the best way might be you can send a message to interfaith at idausa.org. That's one good way. Of course, the info at, right, Mary? Info at idausa.org. I'll put both of those in here for anyone. And let's just curious, did you put together a little closing, Anne, or is that just
I did put together a little something. Are we ready for it?
yes?
Okay, so this closing is some words of encouragement. It's finding your talent. So my dad used to tell me, or he would say it was one of his sayings. He said, I can only do what I can do, but I can do it every day. But if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, that makes it harder. So real change doesn't come from one grand act. It comes from the steady daily compassion. Every meal, every choice, every conversation. That's where the power lies. So each of us should think about ourselves. What is your top talent? Have you discovered it yet? How will you use it to help the animals? Are you an artist, a teacher, a builder, a great listener, an amazing cook? Everyone can serve compassion. Do you donate your time to help the animals? Or maybe you're really good at making money. So it's okay if you donate money if you don't have time. We all help the animals. So if you're not sure what to do, try something new. And that there are quite a few ideas at the end of each chapter of Powerful Vegan Messages to help you come up with ideas to do. Try something new, discover yourself, and use your talents to help the animals.
Mm, beautiful. Thank you so much, Anne, for that lovely closing. Very
Thank you,
inspirational.
Anne. Yes, that was so wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we truly appreciate you joining us today. I know you've been on a little tour, so it's really nice to wind down, and here you are doing this for us today. So we really are very grateful to you and hope that you have some rest following. And also to everyone for joining us today. This is a lovely opportunity to get a little piece of vegan history and learn also more about Anne, about you and what you brought to the community. And we completely support the American Vegan Society and all of your projects, your amazing projects. I know Philadelphia is so lucky to have the American Vegan Center there, and I look forward to visiting on my next trip since I was living there for many years. And so that's where I actually got the opportunity to meet you in person and your mom. So it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
So thank you, everyone. We hope that you have a lovely evening and that you're able to take some of the this inspiration with you wherever you go. Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Bye,
night.
everybody.
Thanks so much, everyone, saying thank
Lots
you,
of
thank you.
love.
Amazing. Thank
Thank you, Anne.
you.
Bye,
You're
everybody.
welcome.
Good night, everyone.